September 14th, 2018, 9:12 p.m. Security camera footage shows a young couple pulling into a rural gas station off Highway 87 in northern Arizona. The timestamp is crystal clear. The woman laughs at something her boyfriend says as she steps out the passenger side. He's smiling, pumping gas, completely at ease. At 9:18 p.m., they walk inside together to pay. At 9:23 p.m., they return to their silver Honda Civic. At 9:27 p.m., they pull back onto the highway, taillights disappearing into the desert night. That was the last time anyone saw Emma Richardson and David Chen alive. What happened in the 47 minutes between that gas station and the place where their car was found the next morning, abandoned on a dirt road with both doors wide open, keys still in the ignition, and Emma's phone on the dashboard with a half-typed text message that simply read, "He's following us, we need to." No blood, no struggle, no bodies. Just gone. For 3 years, investigators had nothing. No leads, no suspects, no answers to the families who refused to believe their children had simply vanished into thin air. But then a hiker made a discovery in the mountains that would crack this case wide open. And what came next exposed a truth so disturbing, so carefully hidden, that it would shake an entire community to its core. Before we continue deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. This is a story of what really happened after Emma Richardson and David Chen stopped for gas at 9:12 p.m. Tonight, we're going to answer 3 questions that haunted investigators for years. Who was a man in the dark pickup truck that appeared on gas station footage just 2 minutes after Emma and David arrived? And why did he wait in the shadows, never entering the store, never filling up, just watching? What was on that dirt road that made Emma so terrified she grabbed her phone to text for help? What made them stop their car in the middle of nowhere instead of driving straight to the police? And a question that kept their families awake every single night for 3 years. Where were Emma Richardson and David Chen? Were they running, hiding, or were they already gone before anyone even realized they were missing? The answers, when they finally came, were nothing like anyone expected. Emma Richardson was 24 years old in September 2018. Born and raised in Flagstaff, Arizona, she was a graduate student at Northern Arizona University, studying environmental science. Her mother, Patricia, describes her as driven, adventurous, someone who felt most alive when she was outdoors. Emma could identify every plant, every bird in these mountains, Patricia tells me, her voice breaking slightly. She knew this land better than anyone. That's why we knew something was wrong. She wouldn't just get lost out there. David Chen, 26, had moved to Flagstaff 2 years earlier from San Diego. He worked as a software engineer remotely, which gave him the freedom to explore Arizona's wilderness with Emma. Friends described them as inseparable, always planning their next camping trip, their next adventure. They'd been dating for 18 months. David had recently bought an engagement ring. Emma didn't know yet, but her best friend Lauren did. He showed it to me 3 days before they disappeared. Lauren recalls. He was going to propose on their camping trip that weekend. He was so excited, so nervous. He kept asking if I thought she'd say yes. That camping trip was supposed to start on Friday, September 14th, 2018. Emma and David left Flagstaff around 7 p.m., heading toward the Mogollon Rim, a popular area they'd visited a dozen times before. The drive should have taken about 2 hours. Everything seemed normal. Emma posted a photo on social media at 8:47 p.m., a selfie of her and Dave in the car, caption reading, "Weekend adventures with my favorite person." 42 minutes later, they'd be stopping for gas, and nothing would ever be normal again. The Ponderosa Junction gas station sits at a lonely crossroads about 60 miles outside Flagstaff. It's the kind of place where locals fill up, truckers grab coffee, and tourists stop once on their way through and never come back. The owner, Robert Hayes, had run that station for 32 years. He'd seen plenty of strange things over the decades, but the night of September 14th stood out for one reason: the man in the dark pickup truck. "I noticed him because he didn't do anything," Robert would later tell police. Didn't pump gas. Didn't come inside. Just sat there in his truck, engine running, watching that young couple. Let's break down what happened minute by minute. 9:12 p.m., Emma and David's silver Honda Civic pulls into pump number 3. Security footage shows David getting out, starting to pump gas. Emma stays in the car, looking at her phone. 9:14 p.m., a dark pickup truck, later identified as a black Dodge Ram, pulls into the far corner of the parking lot. The driver never exits. The camera angle doesn't capture the license plate clearly, but investigators can make out a figure in the driver's seat. 9:18 p.m., David finishes pumping gas. Emma joins him, and they walk into the station together. Robert Hayes remembers them clearly. "Nice kids," he says. "She bought some snacks, trail mix, I think. He got a couple bottles of water. They were laughing about something. Happy." 9:21 p.m. While Emma and David are inside, the black pickup truck's headlights turn on briefly, then off again. 9:23 p.m., Emma and David exit the station, return to their Honda. David is carrying a small bag. 9:25 p.m., the Honda pulls out of the gas station, turning north on Highway 87. 9:27 p.m., exactly 2 minutes later, the black pickup truck follows. Same direction, same road. Robert Hayes didn't think much of it at the time. Traffic came and went. But when police showed him the footage 3 days later, after Emma and David's car had been found abandoned, that 2-minute gap suddenly felt significant. "I should have noticed," Robert says, guilt evident in his voice. "I should have known something was wrong." But here's what makes this case truly unsettling. Highway 87 heading north is a straight shot through mostly empty desert and forest. There are very few turnoffs, very few places to stop. The next gas station is 40 miles away. Emma and David's car was found 18 miles north of Ponderosa Junction, pulled onto a narrow dirt service road that most people wouldn't even notice unless they were looking for it. Which raises a question. How did they know that road was there? And why would they turn onto it? The answer to that question would take investigators down a path they never saw coming. When Emma Richardson and David Chen didn't arrive at their campsite by Saturday morning, their friends assumed they'd changed plans, maybe stayed an extra night in town. But by Sunday afternoon, when neither of them had responded to dozens of calls and texts, Emma's mother, Patricia, knew something was terribly wrong. "Emma checked in," Patricia explains. "Always. Even when she was upset with me. Even when we'd argued, she'd send a text to let me know she was safe. Radio silent for 2 days? That wasn't my daughter." Patricia filed a missing persons report Sunday evening. By Monday morning, the Coconino County Sheriff's Department had begun a search. At 11:47 a.m. on Monday, September 17th, a highway patrol officer spotted the silver Honda Civic. Sheriff Michael Bradshaw led the investigation. What he found at that scene still troubles him. The car was running. Bradshaw tells me engine was still on, had probably been running for close to 48 hours before it ran out of gas. Both front doors were wide open. No signs of forced entry. No signs of struggle. Emma's purse was in the back seat, wallet, and ID inside. David's jacket was draped over the driver's seat. And then there was the phone. Emma's iPhone was on the dashboard, battery dead. But when forensic specialists charged it and accessed the data, they found that partial text message. "He's following us, we need to." The text was being typed to Emma's mother. It was never sent. Timestamp, 9:52 p.m., September 14th. 25 minutes after leaving the gas station, Sheriff Bradshaw immediately pulled security footage from Ponderosa Junction. That's when they spotted the black pickup truck. "We put out an alert for any black Dodge Ram seen in the area that night," Bradshaw explains. "We interviewed every person who'd stopped at that gas station within a 6-hour window. We brought in search and rescue teams, cadaver dogs, helicopters. We searched every inch of forest within a 10-mile radius of where that car was found. Nothing. Emma Richardson and David Chen had vanished as completely as if they'd never existed. But investigators did find one thing. Tire tracks on the dirt service road, leading deeper into the forest. 2 sets. One matched Emma and David's Honda. The other matched the tread pattern of a Dodge Ram truck. Somebody had followed them onto that road. Somebody had been there when they disappeared. The question was, who? If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We want to know who's following this story with us. For the first 6 months, the investigation seemed to hit nothing but dead ends. Sheriff Bradshaw's team interviewed over 200 people. They tracked down every black Dodge Ram registered in a 3-county area, more than 400 trucks. They investigated Emma's ex-boyfriend from college, even though he had a solid alibi and no apparent motive. They looked into David's work, wondering if corporate espionage or a disgruntled colleague might be involved. Nothing connected. But then, 7 months into the investigation, a witness came forward with information that changed everything. A woman named Carol Martinez had been driving on Highway 87 the night Emma and David disappeared. She'd stopped at Ponderosa Junction about 30 minutes after them, around 10 p.m. "I remember seeing a vehicle pulled over on the side of the road," Carol told investigators. "Maybe 5 or 6 miles north of the gas station. The hazard lights were on. I almost stopped to help, but then I saw another vehicle, a truck, I think, pulled over behind it. I figured someone was already helping, so I kept driving." The timing matched perfectly. Carol had driven past around 9:55 p.m. That would have been just a few minutes after Emma started typing that desperate text message. But there was something else Carol remembered, something that sent chills through the investigation team. There was someone standing outside the first car, Carol said. A man, I think. He was just standing there, not moving, not waving for help, just standing completely still, staring at the road. It struck me as odd at the time, but I didn't think much of it until I saw the news about those missing kids. Bradshaw immediately sent forensic teams back to Highway 87, specifically to the area Carol described. They found evidence of a vehicle having pulled over exactly where she'd said, shoulder disturbance, some broken glass from a taillight. But they found something else, too. About 15 feet into the tree line, hidden under decomposing pine needles, they discovered a small leather wallet. David Chen's wallet. It had been there for months, exposed to weather, but inside they found his driver's license, 3 credit cards, and $40 in cash. If this had been a robbery, the cash would be gone. If David had simply dropped it, it would be near the car. But this wallet had been thrown into the woods, deliberately hidden. Why? And that's when investigators realized something that had been staring them in the face the entire time. Whoever took Emma and David didn't want their money, their car, or their belongings. They wanted Emma and David themselves. The case had just become an abduction. 18 months after Emma Richardson and David Chen disappeared, a man named Thomas Garrett was arrested in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for the attempted kidnapping of a woman at a rest stop. The woman had fought back, escaped, and given police a detailed description of her attacker and his vehicle, a black Dodge Ram pickup truck. When police searched Garrett's truck, they found rope, duct tape, a stun gun, and a handgun. They also found something else, a stack of photographs. Dozens of them, different women, different locations, all appearing to have been taken without the subject's knowledge. One of those photographs was of Emma Richardson. She was at a coffee shop in Flagstaff, completely unaware she was being photographed. The date stamp on the photo, August 12, 2018, exactly 1 month before she disappeared. Thomas Garrett had been watching her. When Coconino County Sheriff Bradshaw learned about the arrest, he immediately flew to New Mexico to interview Garrett. What he discovered turned the entire investigation on its head. Thomas Garrett wasn't just some random predator. He was a long-haul truck driver who had been traveling through Arizona for years, and he had a very specific hunting pattern. He'd identify women who seemed adventurous, women who posted about hiking and camping on social media. He'd follow them, learn their routines, wait for opportunities when they'd be isolated. Emma Richardson, with her public social media posts about weekend camping trips, had been on his radar for weeks. But Garrett wasn't working alone. During the interrogation, faced with overwhelming evidence, Garrett made a deal. He'd tell investigators everything about Emma and David, but only if the death penalty was taken off the table. "I didn't kill them," Garrett said, his voice cold and emotionless. "That wasn't the plan. I just needed them out of the way." Out of the way for what? That's when Garrett told investigators about his brother, Marcus Garrett, who owned a remote property in the mountains about 30 miles from where Emma and David's car was found. Marcus had a thing for creating experiences, Thomas Garrett said. Rich people would pay him to arrange extreme survival scenarios. Hunting games. He needed people who wouldn't be missed right away, people who looked like they just got lost in the wilderness. Sheriff Bradshaw felt his blood run cold. Are you telling me your brother hunts people? Thomas Garrett smiled. I'm telling you my brother provides entertainment for people who are bored with normal life. And yeah, sometimes his clients like to hunt. Based on Thomas Garrett's information, federal agents raided Marcus Garrett's property in March 2020. What they found was beyond anything they'd imagined. The property was fortified, surrounded by high fences and security cameras. Inside the main building, they discovered holding cells, surveillance equipment, and detailed logs documenting what Marcus called excursions dating back 7 years. 23 names were in those logs. 23 people who had gone missing in the southwestern United States over the years. People whose cases had gone cold. People whose families had never stopped looking. Emma Richardson and David Chen were number 17 and 18. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The revelation that would bring a glimmer of hope to a case everyone thought was hopeless. When federal agents breached the property, they found 3 people alive. 3 people being held in those cells, including a woman who'd been missing for 2 years and a man who'd been reported missing 14 months earlier. Emma Richardson and David Chen were not among them. According to the survivor testimony and Marcus Garrett's logs, Emma and David had been held for 6 days. They'd been part of what Marcus called a pursuit experience for 2 wealthy clients from overseas. But Emma Richardson, environmental scientist, expert tracker, someone who knew the Arizona wilderness better than almost anyone, had done something remarkable. She'd escaped. On the 6th night of their captivity, Emma had managed to pick the lock on their cell using a wire from David's glasses. The 2 of them had fled into the forest, pursued by Marcus Garrett and his clients. The logs ended there. Marcus claimed he'd lost them in the dark, assumed they died of exposure in the wilderness. But Sheriff Bradshaw didn't believe that for a second. Emma knew how to survive out there, Bradshaw tells me. If anyone could disappear into those mountains and stay hidden, it was her. A massive search operation was launched across 500 square miles of wilderness. For 3 weeks, teams combed through forests, canyons, and remote areas where someone trying to stay hidden might seek shelter. And then, on April 3rd, 2020, a park ranger in Utah, more than 200 miles from where Emma and David had been held, responded to a report of someone breaking into a remote cabin. When he arrived, he found 2 people inside, malnourished, traumatized, but alive. Emma Richardson and David Chen had survived. They'd spent 18 months living off the grid, moving through wilderness areas, too terrified to reveal themselves, convinced that Marcus Garrett's reach extended everywhere. It was only when they heard news reports about the raid on the radio in that cabin that they realized it was finally safe to come home. Today, Marcus Garrett is serving life in prison without the possibility of parole. His brother Thomas received a 25-year sentence for his role in the abductions. 6 of the 23 people in Marcus's logs were found alive. The others remain missing, their families still searching for answers, still hoping for a miracle like the one that brought Emma and David home. Emma and David testified at both trials. They've since married, though they've chosen to live their lives away from public attention. Patricia Richardson told me her daughter is doing better, working through the trauma, trying to reclaim the life that was stolen from her. She's not the same person who stopped for gas that night. Patricia says, how could she be? But she's here. She's alive. And every single day, I'm grateful for that. The gas station footage from September 14th, 2018 still exists. Sometimes Sheriff Bradshaw watches it, seeing Emma and David in those final moments of normalcy, laughing, completely unaware of what was waiting for them just up the road. It reminds me, he says, that evil doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes it's just a truck in a parking lot, someone watching, waiting. So what can we learn from what happened to Emma Richardson and David Chen? Maybe it's that survival isn't just about physical strength. It's about refusing to give up even when everything seems hopeless. It's about love that gives you a reason to keep fighting when your body wants to quit. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just that the people we love, the ones we'd walk through fire for, they're the ones who can lead us home, even from the darkest places. What do you think? Could you have survived what Emma and David went through? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If this story affected you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more real stories that prove truth is stranger than fiction, check out our video on the woman who escaped a serial killer's basement after 3 years. The link is in the description. You won't believe how she did it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And remember, if something feels wrong, trust that instinct. It might just save your life.